Stairs coming up.
Yeah.
So she knows where the stairs are.
There's a fuzzy line right somewhere.
How many are there? So right there, 4. There's Rowan, that's like waiting.
Another one of these boxes. Whoa. Barely made that one. Didn't have enough speed.
Sometimes people are curious if human remains have ever been found in any caves in this area. As far as we know, nobody has ever reported anything like that, but we know there will be human remains in a cave in sometime in the future. And that's because there is a man from Farmington who is independently wealthy, who collects caves the way most of us might collect salt and pepper shakers. He comes down here, finds a cave he likes, and he will make an offer to the landowner that they don't refuse in most cases, and then he owns that cave and can do with it what he will. Well, in 2007, in a cave that is not far from here, it's near Fountain, Minnesota, he found a complete skull of a saber-toothed cat, and lying next to it was the antler of an extinct moose. Those are 2 major finds, and so he was pretty proud of that, and the news made the circuit. I think the skull now is at the University of Minnesota. So big stuff. And he went to our county board a couple years later, and he petitioned them to be buried in that cave when the time comes. Well, of course, our county board, small rural county here, never been asked anything like that. Took them a few weeks to make a decision, but they got back to me and they said, well, okay, we can do this, but we've got one stipulation. What is that? Well, that's, Mr. Ackerman, you're going to have to anchor yourself in well enough to the rock so that when the cave floods, and it will, because they all do around here, you won't be washed off down the river. So he agreed, and it will come to pass that there will be human remains in the cave. All right. This next passage we're going to go into, if you are over 5 feet 7 inches tall, you're going to have lots of opportunities to duck. So I'm sure it will.
Just need a cock when she's upstairs, okay? There's rail coming up. Right there.
Switch box.
Good.
It's just a ramp down.
Brakes.
Take her down. I don't want you slipping. Okay, there you go. Just a little duck,
treasure.
duck. You're doing good, duck, duck. You duck in, duck in. Remember, you're taller than I am. Okay. Oh.
So above our heads, you'll see some holes, some round ones, some oblong ones, some very linear ones. These are called domes, and they form by water that is pushing its way up instead of coming down through the rock from above. And they always form on cracks, so you will never find a dome unless there are cracks in the vicinity. That makes it so much easier for the water to dissolve things if you can start with a crack. As we continue down this passage, you'll see domes of all shapes and sizes above your heads too, and so just be careful that you don't hit your head on the rock.
Okay, okay, start ducking. Yep, you're short. I mean, you're tall. Oh, get over here, get over here. Get in the middle, Mom. That's it, get in the middle. You're doing fine. Well, I can't help it, you're taller than me. Okay, you up.
You got one of those great ones.
Okay, we got more grates coming up, but you got handrails. There you go. I don't like looking down.
I don't have a problem looking down. Oh, wow.
Okay, no, she got this one.
Too fast.
It may be a hard hit.
Okay, guys.
Yes. When you think about iron mining here in Minnesota, you think about up north, and indeed, that's where all the iron is mined these days, but in the 40s and the 50s and the early 60s, iron ore was taken out of southern Minnesota and not very far from this cave. Big open pit mines that have over time now filled with water. But what that means for us today is we still have a lot of iron in this rock, and as water is moving through it, if it comes in contact with the iron, it will leach it right out, and it will band or stain whatever it's forming with that irony water. That turns reddish brown when exposed to the cave air, and so anywhere you see that color in here, you'll know there was iron in the water. And that's what gives us what we call cave bacon or cave ribbon. It's the first formation you're going to see as you look inside this little grotto here. It's hanging from the ceiling, and do you see it there? Mm-hmm. Yeah, right there. Okay.
You go up there? Go ahead. Go ahead, go up there so you can see.
Thank you.
Oh, sure. Can you see it, Mom?
Hanging from the ceiling right there.
Yeah. See in the middle, so you don't get the pin of your head like this.
With that crevice
Dodge
here to
that.
the right, if you were able to squeeze in there and keep moving along, you would end up underneath the bridge that we just crossed, where you were looking down so far. But to get through there, there's a place where you have to squeeze through an opening that's about 9 inches wide.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, for most of us adults, that would be a big no thank you. But to a caver, oh, yippee, that's a great challenge. But to get through there, they have to expel all the air from their lungs. They just push it right out. And they stay that way and move slowly along until they can breathe normally again. That's very risky. Sometimes they have to back out of a situation or just keep moving ahead, and they can get stuck. They train themselves to stay like this for up to 60 seconds. That doesn't sound like much, but if you and I tried it right now, tops among us would probably be 15 seconds. So it really takes some doing. But they're willing to do it just for the thrill of the adventure. And it's often the way we find out about more cave, because they are willing to do it. As we walk along this passage, you'll see this on the wall, and you wonder, what are those? Are those fossils? What are they? They used to be this. They used to be flowstone. But when flowstone has no water to feed it and make it grow, as in this case where the crack is plugged or hardened, it will, like a sunburn on us, flake off and disappear. And there'll be bare rock here someday, and you'll never know that something like that used to exist. So everywhere you see these odd-looking things on the wall, that's what used to be there. Was a nice chunk of flowstone.
Is that help? All right, Brian.
But I can't everybody
Figures
come
it
around in single file.
Camera ain't sensitive enough. Into the slope. Hey, miss, I found this nut about 500 feet back. It was on the concrete right here.
Huh. Must have fallen off of something that somebody's going to miss. Okay, thank you. Well, this is where you're going to get to experience what the cave is like when we're not down here looking at it. It's called absolute darkness. And so if you have a light on your camera or watch or anything like that, I'd like to ask you to turn it off just for a minute or two while we go totally dark. This absolute darkness is nothing to mess with. Because there is no light that penetrates from any source, human eyes like ours cannot ever learn to navigate in it. We just go blind, just like that. And if you'd like to test your sight once the lights go out, just take one of your hands, pull it towards where your face is, and see what you can or can't see. Please don't move around with your feet though, because the rock gets very close here and I wouldn't want anybody to accidentally get hurt that way. So I'm going to count to 3, and we are going to go totally dark. 1, 2, 3.
Ooh. not supposed to move, am I?
Nope, just your hand.
So what happens?
Well, one thing you're probably going to notice is your sense of hearing is going to get better. Okay, I'm guessing nobody saw their hand, so we're going to bring the lights back.
Whoa. That's scary.
Yeah. I had to hide my camcorder in my coat.
I saw that.
That's not you. That was
I thought something was going to glow and it just was a mess on it. I was messing with it. Like glow in the dark stuff.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. People have shirts on, you know, they have a glow in the dark paint on, and they think they go the lights out, and then here's this.
I could kind of see this.
You think? Well, you know, after a half hour, if I left you down here that long in the dark, you would be on all fours. You'd have no idea which direction you were facing, and you wouldn't know if you were right side up or upside down. That is how powerful this stuff is. Because we can see, when people who can see lose their sight abruptly like that, the next thing that goes in them is their sense of balance, and that's why you get so disoriented. And while your sense of hearing will try to make up for your lack of sight, and that works for a while, pretty soon things become excruciating. And even a drop of water, if you're near an area and you're in the dark like this, and you hear a drop of water, you'll want to go like this, because it just gets, so like I said, it's powerful stuff. Fun for a moment or two, but that's enough. We are going to do an about face here. We're going to hike back out of this passage, and we will get into another one where we do not have to duck at all. So let me get this.
Oh, so that's your light switch box
That
then, huh?
is one of them. Yep, you did.
Oh, I was wondering what these things were.
It starts algae growing on them, and then that will eat the rock. It will actually use the rock for nourishment, and so that's why we want to water.
I didn't think I had that. Got it that time. At least not the one, but it's close enough. Broccoli stuff.
That guy.
Tour should be getting very close to over with. Jump, puffs, dodge that. Aid sticks always useful.
So as we leave this passage, I just wanted to point out one more squid fossil to you. This one's quite a bit longer than the first one we saw. Here would have been the head, and then that's about 5.5 feet worth of shell there that's been fossilized. That's teenager size. In ancient times, of course, these are found all over the world, these squid fossils. They say that when these were found, they were thought to be the horns of unicorns and that they possessed special power. And that may be where the legend of the unicorn arose, was from these very squid fossils. We just don't know, but that certainly is something that was the case.
puddle of water there. Dodge. Gotta make use of the evade stat. Speaking of which, slow sealing. Dodge that. Steep slope going up. That's that path.
Slimy squares.
There's a picture of this formation on a postcard up at the visitor center, and if you turn the postcard over, this is described as drapery flowstone, and you can see why. It kind of looks like a big stony curtain, and you see it forming right before your eyes here. Not very many drips across the surface, but each one is laying down a little bit of dissolved material and making the flowstone grow larger. But again, if you look on either side of this crack that's feeding water, part of it's plugged. And look what that, again, that happens to the flowstone. It dries and flags off and disappears on both sides.
When the flood comes, does this all this get wrecked?
When the flood comes, the cave fills up, that bottom cave, the one that's beneath us, fills up first, and then it slowly rises into this cave. And so because it's so slow, it really does not do much damage at all.
Oh,
Yeah. The main thing is that it deposits mud everywhere. We have to clean that up, yeah.
What is that?
So people used to get married in Mystery Cave, and they did it down there, down that way. At the end of this passage is, or used to be, a huge room. It was about 50 feet wide, 50 feet high, and that was called the cathedral. But what has happened to the cathedral is what will eventually happen to this little cave. It has begun collapsing very quickly. And so it's just gotten too dangerous to take people down there. And of course, nobody gets married in there anymore. The state had good intentions. They even built the stairway, and they were going to concrete all that and get people back here. But when they really started looking at the cathedral, they realized, no, it should be off limits because it is going so fast. But that's what's down there. If you're curious, you should come down. And there's our old lighting system. Isn't it though? We're about 100 feet now under the top here. It's pretty neat. We'll be getting a little deeper. But what we're looking at up here is the drippiest spot in the cave, and it never stops dripping, and we do not know what is feeding it water. We only know it's not the river. So this is a real mystery here in Mystery Cave. We don't have the technology to go exploring without endangering the formation. So we're just going to let it be a mystery. We call it the wizard's beard, and the dripping from the wizard's beard fills that little pond beneath our feet, which is about 4.5 feet deep. And then
That's a pond. It don't look like a pond. Oh, I see now.
over here is no mystery at all. This formation is nicknamed the Frozen Falls, and you can see some damage has been done to it. Up through the early 50s, when you got to this point on the tour, the guide would invite you to
Those are some huge stalactites there.
If they aren't, if we had the pieces, we now have glues and we could glue them back together. And they would actually hold up in this sort of condition and heal, but they didn't have that in the 50s, so pieces are long gone. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. They probably have sitting on a coffee table somewhere. Along with the Wilson George's skull.
But it's a stone, right?
Yeah. Question here about the ceiling being so flat. Every ceiling you see in this case is natural. It's the underside of a layer of rock, and the reason it's so flat is because the oceans that laid these rocks down and formed them were relatively shallow and relatively calm. Otherwise, you'd get a lot more of this sort of thing, but that's how they work.
Almost looks man-made with these parallel lines.
They have, actually, it's not us. Structural engineers come down from St. Paul and inspect this cave, and they will study every crack that's a little bit questionable, especially, when we went into that first room and I was telling you about the sinkhole forming. That's when they're really keeping an eye on it. They'll know when it's ready to go, and we will have to keep people out of there then. So, yeah, we don't even do that. It's structural engineers who do that.
Switchbox.
Really? That's funny. Somebody had a bad day, kind of in the Tree State Park that day.
Okay, neat rock formations here. Yeah, I know, it's a long video segment. I see why I segmented to its own segment. Gotta love that 30 megabits per second uploads. I don't have to process this for so long.
So the water in this cave is no longer good for us to drink, but the air is excellent for us to breathe. And here's one of the reasons why. This is called a vent. It's a large hole, and behind it there's a sort of a chimney that leads up through 100 feet of rock to the surface. Well, up there, atmospheric pressure is pushing fresh air back down. And the rock in between us and up there is filtering that air. It takes out the pollen and the dust and the mold, things that normally bother human lungs, so that when it gets here and disperses, that's what we're breathing. And people who have allergies or asthma will often comment that it is easier to breathe in this cave than it is on the surface. And that's the reason why.
Of course, my battery's starting to get a little low. Dodge.
So this water you can't drink, right?
No, well, since the early 70s, our whole upper aquifer in this area has been undrinkable because of all the pesticides and herbicides and fertilizers, et cetera, that are in our water up here. Yeah, yep, up till the early 70s, you could drink water in our upper aquifer, no problem at all. So it hasn't been that long ago, but no longer drinkable. We keep testing our upper aquifer here to see if it's drinkable, and no, it's not. Until land use practices change, that will remain the case.
That won't kill the cave, will it?
Well, it will affect it. All that stuff does affect it. It's very acidy, and so that does have an effect. It certainly has destroyed the water here. We're looking at something, this formation is so rare, you'll probably never see it in any other cave that you visit. It's called shelf stone. We're really lucky to have it here. You can see the remnants of the little pools that this whole area was once just water. And the water has a lot of dissolved limestone in it. That'll start to float on top like a plate or a sheet of ice, and that gets heavy and drops to the bottom of the pool until eventually, after enough of that happens, the pool hardens in and hardens over, and you get shelf stone. And if you look on the other side here, you can see that it once extended all the way across. But early owners cut through this. We would not do that today. They didn't know how rare this was, and that's why they wanted to get you back to the rest of the cave back here. So that's why they did it. But we still see the remnants and can appreciate them. I don't know if you see these little white specks floating on top of the water.
Yeah.
Those are alive.
What?
Yeah. Can you see them move at all?
No. Do you guys see him move?
Yeah.
You do?
Let's see, need to adjust the focus.
Well, they're an insect called a springtail, and they're the only animal that lives down here summer, spring, winter, and fall.
Huh.
And as we look at them, we feed them, because the skin cells that slough off of us, those of them that land in the water will be eaten by the springtails. That's one of their main sources of food. The other main source is their own dead. So, you know, you might call that an odd diet, but they do quite well on it.
Wow.
Yeah, right up here it came from, you bet.
Don't be that right.
Couldn't really get a clear shot of it. Take a lot of time to adjust the focus and stuff to get that.
It appears like about 2 hours.
Whoa, what a long channel this is. No paths, plain route, and go from there.
But that's driving when he's not the driver. That's driving when he's not the driver. So he's going to come out driving? No, I don't know when we're going to. The chicken there.
A hole right in there.
That's not enough. You know what it's like. That's my video.
Can't really see into it too well. Shrink the speed up. Oh, this looks like the entrance.
So we've come to the end of our trail. We're about 140 feet deep now. And in front of us here, you can see the trail does go on. That would get you into the other 13 miles of this cave. How deep? There's that other cave beneath us, and probably at the deepest point here, you would be well over 200 feet deep. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's where our wild caving tour starts. And then you might have read about or seen about that up at the visitor center. It's a pretty rugged tour. You wear a helmet and elbow pads, knee pads, and you crawl around for about 4 hours, and in that time you only go a mile.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, it's rigorous. Not everybody's cup of tea, but for those that do it, it's fun, and they often claim to have seen Indiana Jones back there, so I don't know. We get a reward for making it this far. It's called Turquoise Lake, and I'll get the lights on here.
Ooh, that looks cool.
Yeah, no, yeah, down.
You see that?
And they used to keep cups here, and you could drink from Turquoise Lake until everything went to
Going too fast.
Oh, that looks pretty. You see the forms underneath the head? Isn't that pretty?
Don't let that fool you. You are actually seeing a reflection. And I will turn off another set of lights so you can see the true bottom of it. wanted you to see this view first.
So that's like you're looking at a reflection,
Yeah.
like a mirror.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Huh.
Why is it turquoise though?
There's limestone dissolved in the water, and when you shine light through the water, that limestone will refract blue-green out of the light prism, and so that's what's hitting your eyes, and that's why that looks colorful.
Oh, wow.
It's 48 degrees, you wouldn't want to go for a swim in there.
Not unless you're a polar bear.
No, right.
Or you got one of those dry suits meant for the
There you
Arctic.
go. Which is what our manager has to put on when he changes those underwater light bulbs.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
He doesn't put it on because he swims in the water. He puts it on because if he falls accidentally in the water, he doesn't want to be, exposed to those cold temperatures.
How deep is that?
10 feet.
Wow.
And you can't really tell that with this light, so let me turn that other light off so you can see the real bottom there.
Whoa, look at that.
Any adult in this group stepping off these rocks right here at the edge would be in water right up to your chin. And doesn't it only look like it's about a couple of feet deep, but
Really?
yeah, very deceptive.
Wow.
And it's so still too.
And where does it get its water from? The same like the forest down from there?
Yeah, there's a surface stream that feeds this. It runs right through agricultural land.
And then the rocks filter it and it turns that clear?
That's right. But they can't filter out the chemicals and the bacteria, and that's the problem.
So if the water was good, you could put fish in it.
Yes, in fact, fish could probably live in that as it is. They can tolerate much higher, densities of those naughty things than we can.
Wow, that is so cool. Oh, the heat is. Did you guys see it?
Oops, sorry. Here, I'll get out of your way. Have you ever thought about installing filters to get rid of some of that bad stuff from the farming? Or does that cost too much?
I don't know the answer to that. The problem is, it's just so pervasive. I mean, you could maybe try that, but you'd still have all sorts of other water coming in from other places that would eventually, probably join up with this and still.
I'm just thinking of a way you can possibly clarify the water, make it more natural.
If you had a house, that would be maybe possible. I just don't know in a big system like this if it would work, but yeah. We are going to head house. It will be warm shortly.
No, I don't want to be warm.
We're going to head We'll go back through the doors 15 minutes.
Mechanic for 4.5 hours.
Individualists.
Now for peace.
Funny when you said that, because I was just thinking, oh man, I think we need to. That's a water spot.
Tour apparently lasted a lot longer than I thought. But with all this darkness, at least it compresses really well and quickly.
They don't call me.
This is actually with the exposure maxed. I can't make out too much detail unless it's lit by the artificial lights. slam on my brakes. A lot of columns. Oh, there's a tear in there. Those brakes always come in handy. Puffs, puffs, puffs. Of course, going 400 mile an hour through here, that'd be a different subject. Like Platform Masters has it. Plate box. Oh, a ripple. What do you know? I just saw a ripple. There's a ripple right there. Yeah, I can really crank up my speedometer quite well, huh? Just so you know, it only costs $10. Got a group of 3, it costs $30. It's actually pretty cheap. Slightly downward slope. I can tell because I'm speeding up more than I'm expecting. Steep downward slope. Oh, must be another tour. So, what do you think about this cave? My first time ever being in one. There's the door. Yeah.
Hi, little guy.
Little bat. Of course, it can't really be made out.
Not everybody here, we do.
Back to the main entrance area. 13 minutes battery. I really gotta watch that.
Cameras are fun.
What?
Those cameras are fun. I mean, you can do things that just a few years ago you never could have done something like that.
Yeah, 25x zoom. Minus, 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 minus. Cutting down the exposure.
Oh, yes. It's a little warm again, hey. Want to go back inside?
Sure, natural air conditioning.
Turn off the... Let's see, where is it?
Well, I've got to
Box.
tell you folks, if anybody's interested in fossil hunting, we have a free map up at the visitor center. We can give you, there's a place about 4 miles from here. You can hunt fossils to your heart's content. You can save anything you find. And there's, along with the map, we've got a identification key, so you would know, if you didn't already, what it was that you had found. So,
Oh, wow.
kind of a hot day for it, but maybe some other day. But the maps are up there, and you're welcome to them. So. Thanks.
People of Iowa welcome you.
So we're in Iowa.
Yep, now finally in Iowa for my first time that I know of.
Speed limit 45. In Chester. What's next after Chester? This
I
can't
don't
be a
know,
big
but there's a
town.
restaurant in Chester if you want to stop.
My first ever visit to Iowa, and an unexpected stop because Mom and I are looking around. And as you can tell, yep, new area code, one that I've never seen before, except maybe from random searches. Pretty nice day if it weren't always so hot and humid.
Never know.
Turn, follow that red truck.
Hold your window down.
That way?
No, wait, never mind. Follow that white van and the semi and the white car.
It says Rochester, Minnesota, 44 miles.
Yeah.
Okay, we're in Iowa. We got out infections.
Hold your window down real quick.
It only goes down at a certain speed.
Up here, best town by the
Well, it's a 2.5-hour drive from Line, whatever.
You can get things put in there, so they cost you.
You know what I noticed, Mom? They have a microphone back here.
Dude,
Yeah. I just now noticed.
you're just finding all kinds of things. What else you got? What's in this humpy thing?
What humpy thing?
Thing in the middle.
Power outlet, that's about it.
Did you ever put the damn seat thing in the middle down?
Yeah, that's what's down now.
A farmer's market, an unexpected trip Mom just really bad wanted to go to for whatever odd reason. Yeah, that place that I just went to, that Lime, whatever it was, I think it was Lime Springs, is now the farthest south, and probably even east, that I have ever been. A new record. A quick gas station stopped at in Coates, mostly for a restroom break. Pretty sunset over there.